Father Tom with us. I believe your film this is your New Jersey premiere. Is that correct?
It's the East Coast premiere. East Coast. So we've had a lot of screenings in California, one in Arizona, and now we're heading back to my home state of New Jersey. So I'm so excited, to be heading back to the Garden State.
Well, it's a pretty incredible homecoming for you, and you're screening at 3:45 on Saturday the 26th at the Berkeley Hotel. You want to tell us a little bit about your film and how this came to be?
Sure. Well, I am a Catholic priest myself. I was ordained with the Paulist Fathers in New York City in 2012. So this is, so I've been a priest for 10 years. And the Paulists have always had some sort of a background in doing media work. And when I was assigned to Los Angeles about 6 years ago, and I'd been doing like a little bit of documentary work, just for the community. And then I kept on hearing about this guy named Father Bud, who had started this production company called Paulist Productions 60 years ago. And he had this TV show that ran for 25 years that worked with some of the top names in Hollywood in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So he did this. It was kind of like a Twilight Zone, except with moral and spiritual issues. It was for all faith traditions. It had some Catholics in it, but you didn't have to be Catholic to watch it. And he got people from all different faith traditions to be a part of it. So you had Ed Asner, Martin Sheen, Bob Newhart, Marion Ross from Happy Days, John Amos, Ed Begley Sr. and Ed Begley Jr. And he just had this really amazing run, and he had an amazing story. So figured, he was kind of a natural to do a documentary on, especially having the opportunity to talk with a lot of the actors and actresses who work with Father Bud.
I was looking, Father, at Insight, doing some homework here on, we're talking about Reverend Elwood Kieser, Father Bud Kieser, right? He went by Bud, right?
Right. Yeah. Father Elwood Bud Kieser is how he's often named. Yeah. His friends called him Bud. Yeah.
I was young when Insight was on, and for the life of me, I can't remember seeing Insight because that was the television show that you're referencing. Right. But it had so many different stars, and it was sort of like a PBS kind of, like a PBS approach to dramatic TV, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, in the 60s and 70s, all TV stations were required to give away part of their time for public access. So what Father Bud was able to do was to leverage that, and he created this show in Hollywood with all these like Hollywood stars and writers and directors, and then he would literally go across the country and say, hey, you need a TV show to fulfill your public access responsibilities. I've got this great show that you can put on that will completely fulfill these responsibilities, and oh, by the way, it features stars that everybody knows. And so, often the show would come on on Sundays at 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. and all that stuff. It was always one of Father Bud's dreams to get into prime time. And that was actually something he was able to do later in his career as he grew. As more people got to know him in Hollywood, he was able to make more connections. And then in the late 1980s was able to make the film Romero with the great actor Raul Julia.
Wow. Yeah, I was looking at the list here of people that worked with him. John Ritter, William Shatner. Right. I'm just throwing some names out here. Cicely Tyson, Keenan Wynn, Cindy Williams. I mean, the list was pretty big when you think of Hollywood priest. I mean, he had a pretty good flock there of Hollywood actors that was with him.
That's right. And including, I think I understand that Mariette Hartley is one of the actresses who's she's going to be at the Garden State Film Festival this weekend. And she's one of the, I think she worked with Father Bud a couple of times as well. So hopefully we get a chance to bump up. I'd like to get some more stories, from her experiences. It was just, I'm a Gen Xer, so, I'll just watch an episode of Insight, and even just a random episode, I'm like, oh, that was Jack Chipper's girlfriend on this episode of Three's Company. And, I think this guy got arrested in 3 episodes of TJ Hooker. And, it's just kind of like, if you watch our big thing when making this film is we wanted to make a Hollywood film about a Catholic and not a Catholic film about Hollywood. So, if you like TV history and if you like pop culture history, it's really great. At Asner was a real mensch. He was as Jewish can be, and he did like 8 episodes for Father Bud, or like 8 episodes, and he was able. A lot of people in the industry just looked at Bud as kind of, some people considered him their rabbi, because he was just this holy man in the industry, and he was really able to cross faith boundaries and really put out some messages that everybody could take in and grow from.
Yeah, I was looking at some of the footage from the documentary, and it showed one of the scenes with Ed Asner, and he was playing the part of a father whose son had, I guess it was the episode they called The Freak, I think was the one.
Yep.
What a dramatic piece there, because you could just feel the tension and everything. It really was, something to see him going, back. I think it was Tim Matheson was his son.
Yes.
And it was quite a dramatic scene there where the two of them didn't quite see eye to eye. So yeah, it was really something.
Well, one of the great things about, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, that's okay. I just wanted to add that there's so many great and powerful moments in this documentary from the show Insight that are so needed to our youth right now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one of the great things about Insight is, I was like many of you, I had never seen the show, and I heard about it when I joined the Paulist Fathers. But they're all available on YouTube now. So if you type Insight Paulist, they'll show up, and you can watch all of them online for free right now. And what was great about it is I watched some of these episodes, and they really went there. Like, they really tackled really tough issues in a really emotionally complex way, a really spiritually complex way. They weren't like your usual person's life bad, person's go to church, person's life good. I mean, they really wrestled with some tough issues and brought many different perspectives to bear. And I'm watching these episodes like, geez, we need to see more of this stuff on TV today, just in terms of the complexity that's brought out.
Yeah, the way they were filmed too was sort of like a one shot, not that I know a lot about the whole film industry, but It's kind of like a one shot, almost play-like atmosphere, as opposed to television, with a lot of special effects and, different angles and multiple cameras. It's sort of like very much like you're watching a play on stage when the actors were sort of just going back and forth and talking and being together.
And that's how Martin Sheen described it. He's like, it was basically like being in a little play, and like once a year, Martin Sheen would do an episode of Insight. It was like, and it was just, as he would talk about it, was, he always had to take these, when you're a working actor, you usually have to take what's given you. And he was just like, this was a really great opportunity for, what he would say, but like all the actors would say, was just to do something different, to play against type. There's a great episode that I think still resonates with us today as we, wrestle with racism in society, where the African American comes to the white blue collar neighborhood and wants to buy a house. And Harvey Korman, whom we know from the Carol Burnett Show and Blazing Saddles, and just known as this great comedic actor, he plays the Polish factory worker who is like wrestling with all this, and it's a dramatic episode, and it has a lot of power in it.
How long did it take you to put this project together? Because it seems like there's a lot of little pieces that sort of had to be sewn together to make this whole thing come together.
Right. It was, I'd say about 4 years ago, we decided to put all the Insight episodes on YouTube, because we were holding on to them, and we're like, what's the best way to put it out there? It's like, well, let's just throw them up on YouTube, and people were enjoying them for free before. Let's let them enjoy them for free now. And that kind of got us in the process of digitizing some of the ones that hadn't been, that were still on film or still on videotape. And then we said, well, let's also maybe do some interviews with some of the actors, particularly, while they're still with us. As time gets on, there's a whole list of actors I would have loved to have interviewed, but who are no longer with us, and who didn't get the opportunity. And then when we sit down, I'd call up these, like, I'm being a total fanboy now. I'm like, it's like I'm calling Mrs. Cunningham. Oh my goodness, and I'd be like, hi, like 50 years ago, you did a TV episode. And they're like, oh, yeah, Father Bud, when do you want to sit down? Like everybody wanted to talk about Father Bud. And so they would talk about their episodes, but they all had these great stories of Father Bud. And so during these interviews, I just said, well, let me just start poking around and finding what other footage I can find. And then after we had finished all these interviews, the pandemic hit. It was March 2020. And so it was like, oh, well, it's just me and my MacBook Pro. And it's just like, well, let's start weaving this together. And fortunately, one of the other great elements of the film is George Newbern, who was an actor. He was in Father of the Bride. He was the groom in Father of the Bride. And he's actually the cartoon voice of Superman. He goes to our parish and he said, and he does a lot of voiceover work. And he's like, if you need any narration work, let me know. So we were able to get a really great narrator. And so I just, while we were all just sitting at home, avoiding COVID, I just, started putting it together. So I'd say, kind of slowly, for the first 2 years were a little piecemeal, and then just really put the pedal to the metal over the last year and a half.
Now, you mentioned that Insight is available to see online, but the documentary about Father Bud and the story behind all this is now going to be at the Garden State Film Festival. And Heather, you gave us the date and time. Folks could check this out.
I did. You can go to gsff.org for tickets. Hollywood Priest, the story of Friar Bud Kieser, screens at 3:45 this Saturday at the Berkeley Hotel. And that is just one of many films and events we are showcasing this weekend. It's a great weekend. We kick off tomorrow night at Cranford Theater. And then on Thursday night, we have our Meet the Filmmakers night in Asbury Park. So we'll be in Asbury Park straight on through till Sunday.
Oh.
So yeah, come on down, gsff.org for tickets. We have First Lady Tammy Murphy as our honorary chairwoman. And we have a lot of great VIPs and guests that are going to be attending as well. So yeah, definitely come on down.
And Father Tom, you're going to be there.
Yes, I will. Yes, right before I was confirming my Delta flight, doing my Delta check-in right before we hopped on Zoom. So anyway, I'm flying tomorrow.
It'll be great to see your project come to fruition all together like this. It'll be great, yes. Right?
Yep. Oh no, it's so great. No, I'm so excited to be part of the Garden State Film Festival. My sister and my parents are nearby, and they're all bringing family and friends, so it'll be fun. Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
Yep. Very good. Lauren, you wanted to finish with?
I just wanted to add also, we present at the Cranford Theater in Cranford, New Jersey on Saturday also from 7 to 9 p.m. And we have a bunch of amazing films. We have I can't even explain it. It's so good. You should get your tickets today because we will sell out. We are already sold out for Friday. So you can no longer purchase tickets for Friday. We're already sold out.
So get on
it. And again, Heather, the address is?
gsff.org for tickets.
I should be able to remember that. Why can't I just remember? Anyway, Father, it was great to meet you. I'm glad that Heather and Lauren got this together. And I'm so glad to meet you and hear about this project. I've been reading up on it, and it looks very, very interesting. And it's a part of Hollywood that we didn't know about, and hopefully we will after this.
Well, thanks so much for having me. It's really great to be on.
Thanks, Father Tom. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.